Ay, ay, ay. I don't even know what to do sometimes, guys. I don't even know what to do. I don't know what to say. I've been a West Virginia fan for, let's see, over 25 years now. Yeah, I've been a West Virginia fan for over 25 years. I've never seen our basketball and football program. Let me make sure my phone is. Okay, we're good. Because I'm having to record on my phone because my laptop's still down. But anyways, I want to make sure that was on silent so I don't get any unnecessary noises. But I've been a West Virginia fan for over 25 years, and this is the worst I've ever seen the state of our basketball and football program in the same year. Most of the time, if one's doing bad, we can rely on the other one. Football's having a down year. All right, we always have basketball, and that picks us up. Or, well, our basketball's not looking good, but do you remember the season we had with football? That was a good year, right? Well, this year, not only is it not like that, not only is it, this is not good. This is bad, straight up bad. Football, we go 5-7, we miss a bowl, and of course, as a West Virginia fan, you're looking forward to the basketball season, and it gets off to a great start, 10-2, going into conference play. We look good. This looked like the best scoring, as far as shooters go, the best scoring West Virginia basketball team we've seen since the 2010 Final Four. So everything was on the up and up. It looked great. Man, we're going to have a great basketball season. We were ranked number 24 going into Big 12 play, and then the bottom just fell out. And I wasn't upset about the road loss to Kansas State because I predicted a close loss anyways. But that loss to Oklahoma State on the road, that's what bothered me. And honestly, it was whenever that obscene gesture was made by Eric Stevenson. One of our best shooters decides to get weird, I guess. Obscene gesture ruins the rally that we had building because we were down most of the game and we were building a rally coming back. Obscene gesture killed that, and West Virginia has not been the same since. 5 straight losses in a row. This is bad. Bad, bad, bad. Now, I will say this. Silver lining. Today's game, it did look like everybody was playing more as a team. It looked like everybody was giving their 100% again. Finally, our players are giving it their all. They're playing as a team, shooting well. You look at the stats, West Virginia actually had better field goal percentage than Oklahoma and better three-point percentage than Oklahoma. And we still lost by 1. Why? We couldn't hit our free throws. Same story, different year. Why can West Virginia not hit their free throws? I don't get it, guys. I don't get it. And yes, I am going to talk about a bill that's being proposed in the state of Washington that will affect Washington State, but it could create a ripple effect. I will talk about that too. But speaking of West Virginia real quick, this is the angriest I've ever seen the West Virginia fan base. This is the most impatient that I've ever seen the West Virginia fan base. And I've been through some terrible, terrible years. The early 2000s, whenever we were transitioning from who was it? Don Nehlen to Rich Rod. That was tough because Rich Rod had a couple of bad seasons before he got on a roll. Basketball wasn't great. We had Beeline. He did have some good seasons, but the early 2000s was a little rough. This year is worse than any of those years put together. It's worse than anything in the 90s and anything else that I remember. This is the worst. Welcome to the bottom of the barrel, people. I will say this. There is hope for West Virginia basketball. We do have talent. This is probably the best shooting. I'm going to stick with it because it's the truth. This is probably the best shooting West Virginia basketball team that I've seen since 2010 when we went to the Final Four. But we have got to stop being selfish. We are not passing the ball to the open man. Everybody wants to make the shot. Everybody wants to be the hero. Nobody wants to pass it to the next man open. We got to pass the ball more and stretch the court more if we want to have any shot of getting to the big dance. We went from being ranked in the top 25, being 10-2, being in a top 5 seed as far as the big dance goes. Now we're 10-7 on a 5-game losing streak, and we're on the bubble. We might be on the outside looking in. They still barely have West Virginia in the big dance, but if we keep losing, we're not going to make it to the big dance. I mean, look at the schedule, and we played 2 of the worst teams in the Big 12, even though they're not bad teams, but in the Big 12, 2 of the worst teams in the Big 12, and we lost to them. I'm talking about Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. Those should have been wins, but they weren't, because Eric Stevenson decided to get all cocky, make an obscene gesture, and absolutely killed the momentum of the Oklahoma State game. And then today, free throws. Who can make a free throw? Bob Huggins should offer a reward to anybody that makes all their free throws during the game. I'm serious. We are getting to that point. Bob Huggins should offer a reward to any player that can make all of their free throws in a single game. Because if we would have hit our free throws, if we would have hit 80%, 75%, which is respectable, that should be consistent. That should be on a down night. You should be hitting 75% from free throw land on a down night. Hit 75% or 80% of our free throws tonight, we would have won this basketball game by maybe double digits. But we can't make a free throw to save our life. Oh my gosh. I don't get it. Headaches. I got a lot of headaches, guys. Oh man. I don't. So I started my YouTube channel 3 years ago because I saw on YouTube that a lot of big brands out there had a big presence. Georgia had a lot of YouTubers with a lot of subscribers. Miami Hurricanes, Ohio State, Oklahoma, USC, you name it, they had it. West Virginia, we had zero YouTube channels as far as West Virginia fan base YouTube channels that had at least 1,000 subscribers. And my brothers were like, you got to do it, man, because you're obsessed with this. This is what you do. Go do it. And for one reason or the other, I was scared to make mistakes. I was scared I was going to stutter, stammer. Oh, what if somebody makes fun of me? What if I get trolled? You know, the fears were there. Fear of failure was there. But finally, they pushed me into it. I started it because I wanted to give West Virginia a voice on YouTube. Fast forward 3 years later, Golden Blue Dude has over 12,000 subscribers. And last count, we have 4 or 5 West Virginia fan-based YouTube channels with over 1,000 subscribers. Here's the problem. Right when we give West Virginia a spotlight and a voice on YouTube, we're terrible in both football and basketball. Go figure. Maybe we brought on a curse. I don't know. This is ridiculous. So right when West Virginia fans start having successful YouTube channels, West Virginia starts sucking both in football and basketball. I am just sick of it. And the other thing is hope. It's one thing to be bad, but then you have hope. At least you have something to look forward to. Right now, West Virginia fans have no hope. Football, Neil Brown's still there. Nothing changes. No hope of hiring a great offensive coordinator. I was hoping that West Virginia would go after Garrett Riley. Nope. Looks like Neil Brown's going to call the plays, and Garrett Riley is headed to Clemson. Great hire, Clemson. Great hire. That was a great hire. I was hoping West Virginia would go after him, but no dice. I will say this. The transfer portal is looking much better for West Virginia this year. I will say that. Real quickly, before we get any further into the show, I just want to do a quick reminder. If you haven't already, please hit the like and subscribe button. You don't have to be a West Virginia fan to subscribe to this channel. I talk about all teams in both football and basketball, mostly college football, but, you know, March Madness is here, so I'll talk some college basketball. So you don't have to be a West Virginia fan to subscribe to Golden Blue. In fact, I would venture to say this. Most of my subscribers are actually non-West Virginia fans. So you would be in good company. You would be in the majority. I would honestly, if I had to guess off the top of my head, as far as the fan base that I have most subscribers from, I would actually say Georgia. I think I have more Georgia subscribers than anybody else. So it doesn't matter if you're a West Virginia fan or not. Hit the subscribe button. We are all obsessed with college football here at Golden Blue. And yes, we talk about March Madness and college basketball whenever the college football season and national championship is winding down, and college basketball and March Madness is bubbling up. So yes, we do talk some college basketball, but this is a college football obsessed YouTube channel. So if you love college football, hit the subscribe button. And that like button is more important than you think. I'm very surprised that YouTube channels don't promote hitting the like button more, because whenever you hit that like button, doesn't matter if you like me or West Virginia, doesn't even matter if you like what I'm doing. Just help the video hit the YouTube algorithm by hitting the like button. Easy, simple, fast, and free. Doesn't cost you a penny. But if you would actually like to support the channel, small donation, anything is appreciated, especially in the off season. We don't have an off season around here. I call it grind season, but especially in grind season, those donations greatly help, because people do get disinterested in college football. I'd say between middle January all the way up to maybe mid-April, something like that. So those donations really help. So if you'd like to support the show, and small donation, $1, $2, doesn't matter, hit the super chat button. And when you do that, anything you put in the super chat, comment, question, you want to make fun of me, I can handle it. Part of the checklist, thick skin, right? Just leave a comment in the super chat and we'll throw it on the screen right there, and we will address it for everybody to see. Doesn't have to be a question about West Virginia. Just try to make it sports related. Just try to make it sports related, and we'll do the best. We'll do the best we can to answer the questions and comments and all that stuff. You can also support Golden Blue. Thank you, Sorgy Stories. There's the Cash App link right there. You can also support Golden Blue through that way, and we appreciate that as well. So let's get into it. Of course, I've vented about West Virginia for the past 12 minutes or so, and it's been bad. It's been bad, people. No improvement under Neil Brown. In fact, we're going backwards. We had the same. Think about this. We had the same record this year as we did the first year under Neil Brown. So yeah, thank you for reminding me that, Storage Stories. Let me put that banner up here real quick. There we go. Yes, we do have a P.O. box. So if you would like to send gear to represent your team and you, because I do shout outs for whenever you do send me some gear, and I did get backed up on shout outs during the holiday season, because just got really busy. So I will get caught up on all the shout outs. But yeah, just send it to P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina 29657. In fact, yesterday we received the Tennessee mini helmet. So we can check Tennessee off of the list as a major brand that's not represented here at Golden Blue. Will Klein said he's sending something from Georgia. I didn't see it yesterday. I forgot to check my P.O. box today because I got super busy. But it's all right. It's coming. Georgia gear. Finally, Georgia gear. Yes, the subscriber, the fan base that's represented the most here at Golden Blue, I would guess would be Georgia. Finally getting some Georgia gear to actually represent. It was so weird because whenever the national championship came around, I have a lot of helmets to represent the matchup. I had the TCU helmet because I had that sent in, but I didn't have the Georgia helmet. So I had to go find the Georgia hat that one of my friends gave to me like 4 or 5 years ago to represent the matchup in the national championship. That shouldn't happen, Georgia fans. I'm just saying. Shouldn't have a TCU mini helmet, and I'm not even talking about a Georgia mini helmet. Nothing Georgia. No sign, no pennant, no snot rag, no nothing. Nothing from Georgia fans. So shout out to Will Klein. He informed me that he is sending in some Georgia gear. Can't wait to get it and get Georgia officially represented. Off the top of my head, big brands still not represented here at Golden Blue Dude. I would say Florida. That one has surprised me. Florida is a big brand. Let's see. I'm running out. The list is thinning out. So shout out to you guys for representing. I heard that I have an Auburn mini helmet coming. Haven't got it yet, but keeping our eyes out. So Florida's not represented. Auburn's still not represented as of right now. Texas A&M, that one surprises me. Texas A&M not represented just yet. Big Ten, well, really the biggest brand in the Big Ten not repped is probably Penn State, because we have Michigan, Michigan State, and Ohio State. They're all represented. Big Ten West, we have Wisconsin, Minnesota, Purdue. That might be it. So we still don't have Iowa or, let's see, Iowa, Northwestern, or Illinois out of the Big Ten West. But that's all good. Those are Iowa, a little surprised because they have bigger. Hey, we have any Iowa fans in the house? Iowa State's represented, but not Iowa. It's a shame. It's a shame. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 out of the current Big 12 teams, 9 out of the 10 current Big 12 teams are represented. As far as the mini helmets go, the only one not represented, Texas Tech Red Raiders. Hillbilly Skeptic, thank you for the $5 donation, says, having a blue blood team is just as stressful sometimes. That makes sense. I hear you. Kentucky basketball can be so frustrating when we have the potential to win it all but don't. Yeah, I'm actually very curious about Kentucky basketball because not gonna lie, at the beginning of the season, Oscar Tshiebwe, his face was all over ESPN, and ESPN talking about Kentucky winning a national championship, and it's not even gonna be close. And I was like, my gosh, we had that guy on our team, and we did okay. But they're expecting Kentucky to just crush everybody, which I know it's more than one person, but it still sucks to see the face of a franchise that used to play on your team and now playing for somebody else. But for whatever reason, Kentucky has struggled this year as well. Big win for Kentucky today, beating Tennessee. I believe it was on the road, too. I believe Kentucky beat Tennessee on the road. So that's a good win for Kentucky fans. But I am surprised that Kentucky has struggled as much as they have. So hang in there, Hillbilly Skeptic. I'm sure Kentucky's going to bounce back and be a solid big dance team. All right, the other thing that I want to talk about, which I did a video on it, but I've seen comments that made me think of other things related to this subject. And that is the bill that is being proposed in the state of Washington, as we say in West Virginia, Washington. There's a bill being presented by Senator Drew McEwen, Senator Jeff Holy, and Senator Sam Hunt. And this bill is proposing that Washington and Washington State stay in the same conference no matter what. So if Washington goes to the Big Ten, Washington State has to go as well. If one stays in the Pac-12, they both have to stay in the Pac-12. So this is basically a bill joining Washington and Washington State at the hip. It's not passed yet, but it's close. This would affect conference realignment massively because we know that Washington wanted to go to the Big Ten along with Oregon. We already know that, right? Well, if that bill gets passed, that ain't going to happen. Now, the Big Ten could take Washington State, but Washington State doesn't have AAU status, so Washington screwed. So this is a bill that would favor Washington State, but not Washington because Washington is the bigger brand. Having said that, like I said in the video, back when I heard that the Big 12 was interested in Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State, I would have swapped out Colorado for Washington State. Well, if this bill goes through, then Washington State would be off the menu unless the Big 12 could entice Washington as well. Washington State wasn't on the menu anyways, but I would have swapped Colorado for Washington State. So imagine if the Big 12 could bring in Washington and Washington State. If this bill goes through, the chances of that happening actually rise. It actually rises, seriously, because they would be joined at the hip. The Big Ten does not want Washington State. In fact, they don't want Oregon as much as they want Washington. Washington is the prize right now in the Big Ten. Washington is a very, very valuable school. People don't realize that. Very, very valuable. One of the most valuable schools in the entire nation. So they would love Washington, but they don't want Washington State. So if the Big Ten is off the menu for Washington, would they be willing to settle for the Big 12 if the Pac-12 is going down the drain? So this could be a good thing for the Big 12. It also could be a great thing for the Pac-12 because this could start a ripple effect. So if Washington, the state of Washington, passes this bill and they join Washington and Washington State at the hip, state of Arizona, worked for them? Let's do it too. Join Arizona and Arizona State at the hip. State of Oregon, worked for the state of Washington, works for the state of Arizona. Let's join Oregon and Oregon State at the hip. So if this bill did get passed and Washington and Washington State are joined at the hip and it created a ripple effect, this would actually be a great thing for the Pac-12. It could actually keep the band together, could keep the Pac-12 together because Washington State joined. Hey, you don't get Washington unless you want Washington State too. Oregon, hey, you don't get Oregon unless you want Oregon State too. Arizona, hey, you don't get Arizona unless you want Arizona State too. So by a point of default, it could actually keep the Pac-12 together. However, what if a conference is okay with both of them? So now you're talking about getting chunked. Although they want Washington, yeah, Washington State can come on too. Automatically, two are gone. There's no chance of, and I know that the Big Ten got USC and UCLA at the same time, but in the past, the Big Ten got Nebraska, Pac-12 got Colorado, SEC got Texas A&M and Missouri. So the Big 12 got picked, one here, one there, two here. Well, if they're joined at the hip, then you're going to get chunked two at a time. If conference realignment happens, it would be guaranteed you're going to get chunked two at a time. John Waffle H2P, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Where is the 0-5 dance? I already did that earlier today. If you missed the video, go check it out. Yeah, 0-5 in the Big 12. West Virginia is absolutely horrific right now in basketball. And this is the most nonsense season I've ever seen as a West Virginia fan in my entire life, combining both basketball and football. Pretty sure West Virginia still beat Pitt earlier in the season, so and pretty soundly too. So I don't know if I would be celebrating anything if I was a Pitt fan. Although your football season, you went 8-4, you beat UCLA, so 9-4, and you finished right in the top 25. So there you go, another decent season for Pitt. All I know is that conference realignment has ripped a lot of rivalries. Of course, as a West Virginia fan, I'm going to mention West Virginia Pitt, ripped apart. West Virginia, Virginia Tech, ripped apart. We've gotten to play our rivals in the past couple of years, but it's not consistent every year. So those rivalries are done. Listen, I'm okay with rivalry teams going to separate conferences as long as they continue playing, like Florida State. Florida State's the ACC, Florida's in the SEC. They're still playing. Clemson, South Carolina, SEC, Clemson, ACC, they're still playing. So as long as they still play, there's no problem. But some of these rivalries are stopped once teams go in different directions. West Virginia Pitt, a good example. West Virginia, Virginia Tech. Over to the Nebraska thing. Nebraska going to the Big Ten broke up a lot of rivalries. Nebraska, Oklahoma, Nebraska, and, well, basically anybody in the Big 12. Done, over. And that's why it was a big deal that Nebraska got to play Oklahoma the past couple years. It was a big deal. Those are big rivals, but they haven't got to play in a while because they got split up. Colorado had some rivals. People forget Colorado had some rivals in the Big 12. Those rivalries done away with. USC and UCLA going over to the Big 10, even though it's a cross-division rivalry. Remember, the Pac-12, number one, hasn't always had divisions. Number two, doesn't really matter whenever it comes to rivals. USC and Oregon, great cross-divisional rivalries. That rivalry is going to be gone. We will not see USC and Oregon. And I know we don't see it every year right now, But we're not going to see it hardly ever whenever USC and UCLA go to the Big Ten. And listen, this is not me trash talking USC, what I'm about to say. It's going to seem like it. This is just facts. Guys, you're going to struggle in Big Ten when you go over there, at least at first, all right? Whenever you go into a place where you're not used to, man, this feels weird. You're going to struggle until you get used to it. USC and UCLA in the Big Ten is going to look so freaking weird, and I guarantee you it's going to have an effect on the players, especially travel. They're going to have great home field advantage, just like West Virginia has great home field advantage in the Big 12. But on the flip side, every road game is going to be cross country, even worse than West Virginia. Right now, West Virginia is in the position of having the longest travel schedule out of any team in the entire nation. But USC and UCLA will overtake West Virginia because their travel schedule is going to be absolutely brutal. And I know they're going to do certain things to try to compensate as much as possible, like try to do back-to-back road trips so they're not coming home and then going back and then coming home, like back and forth all the time. So they will do things to try to compensate for that to make it easier on USC and UCLA. But I'm telling you, that travel schedule is going to be absolutely brutal, and you're going to struggle in some form or fashion. And that's just football. People forget about basketball, your baseball teams, your wrestling teams, your volleyball teams. There's a lot of athletics involved in these universities. So whenever a team jumps conferences, you have to look at the schedules for all of these other sports. And it's not good. I mean, imagine what the USC volleyball team is going to have to go through. Oh, man. Brutal. The USC baseball team, brutal. Basketball team, brutal. Not good. Not good. That is a good point, Goofy Eye Little Shark. And I've been preaching it for the past, well, since West Virginia joined the Big 12. I think people misunderstand me about this whole situation with West Virginia in the Big 12. Oh, if you hate the Big 12 so much, then why don't you just go leave and play independent? That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that I hate the Big 12. What I'm saying is we don't fit in the Big 12, and I would be 100% okay with staying in the Big 12 if the Big 12 could get more East Coast teams to make travel easier for West Virginia. That's why I'm hoping that those 8 teams for the ACC that I'm hearing exist and are willing to vote to dissolve the ACC do it sooner rather than later, because we need those East Coast teams to make travel easier. I think West Virginia would be more successful with less travel. I'm not saying all of a sudden we'd be national championship contenders based on schedule. Absolutely not. But a 2-win swing every year, I could see that. So this year, instead of being 5-7, we would just be a pitiful 7-5. But hey, a winning season, get to a bowl, that's better than 5-7, and there would be hope. Travel makes a difference. All right, that there is no argument against that. Travel makes a difference. Think about this. Most of the time, if you're looking at all these other conferences, a team will have a cross-country or cross-time zone away game one time a year. Notre Dame, they'll either go to USC or Stanford in a year. They're not going to go on the road to both of them in one year, just one. So, yes, they do usually have one cross-country trip. It's either Stanford this year or USC this year. For West Virginia, we have road games in the central time zone, southwest part of the United States, 4 or 5 times a year, every year. It's part of it. John Waffle H2P, thank you for the $4.99 super chat, says, no. USC has been big-time alumni on the East Coast. W has no alumni in Cali. What the heck are you talking about, man? What? When did I talk about alumni? Where did that come from? I wasn't talking about fans going to the game. I was talking about the team itself. It's going to wear on the team because of the travel. I know that USC has a massive alumni base all over the entire United States. So there will be fans in all of the time zones that will be able to attend the games because they're everywhere. In fact, whenever they go to Notre Dame, there's a massive, massive USC alumni fan base in South Bend, Indiana. So there's a lot of gatherings, watch parties, and a lot of USC fans do show up to that Notre Dame road game. I wasn't really talking about the fans in that situation. Although, if I am being selfish, which I am sometimes, I admit it, then yes, I would love West Virginia to have those East Coast teams or go to the SEC or ACC so I could go to more road games. That's another thing that I hate about the Big 12. Remember, don't twist that up and say that I hated the Big 12. I didn't say that I hated the Big 12. I said that's one thing that I hate about the Big 12. So don't twist that. I hate that I can't go to away games because I live in the upstate of South Carolina, and I ain't driving to Ames, Iowa. Whenever I got 4 kids here in South Carolina, and I'm not going to do that to my wife. I ain't going to do that. But Virginia Tech, Blacksburg, yes, that'd be a great away game. And this year we had a road trip to Pitt and Virginia Tech. Unfortunately, I could only pick one, so I picked the backyard brawl. I picked the wrong one because we lost in the backyard brawl, but we absolutely humiliated Virginia Tech. So it would have been really cool to see West Virginia win on their way to Virginia Tech. But you know what? Still a great game in the backyard brawl. West Virginia had its chances very back and forth, and it basically came down to a bad coaching decision to not go for it on 4th and guaranteed. And the rest is history. And I am confident that if West Virginia wins the backyard brawl, we're at least an 8-14. But that's hearsay. Let's not go down that road. Point is, if the Big 12 brings in some East Coast teams, or if West Virginia is able to go to the ACC or the SEC, I would be able to go to more away games. Imagine if West Virginia was in the ACC. Road games at Clemson, that's like 15 minutes down the road. I can literally drive there in 15 minutes and be at an away game. Atlanta, Georgia for Georgia Tech, that's like an hour and a half. What about NC State and Raleigh? That's like 3.5. Chapel Hill, North Carolina, about 3. Durham, North Carolina for Duke, about 3. Wake Forest in Greensboro? I think it's Winston-Salem, up there in the northern part of the state, about 4.5 hours. Blacksburg for the Black Diamond Trophy rivalry in the ACC. That's about I'd say about a 5.5 hour trip. A West Virginia home game would be farther than most away games if we were in the ACC. The only away games that would be farther than a West Virginia home game if they were in the ACC for me would be Syracuse, Boston College, Florida State, and Miami. Maybe Louisville. I'm not 100% sure about that. Possibly Louisville. But sorry, I missed your other super chat, buddy. I get it up there now. There you go. John Waffle H. Now I'm making sure I didn't miss any other. I don't think I did. Okay, we didn't. John Waffle H2P, thank you for the $4.99 donation. Says USC will be profitable at Rutgers if WU played UCLA in the Rose Bowl. No WU fans would show up. Dude, that's just dumb. You know better. Pitt alumni do live on the West Coast. AAU matters. Dude, Pitt fans don't even show up for home games. That comment doesn't even make sense. You don't even sell out your own stadium on a consistent basis on a good year. But you're saying there would be more Pitt fans than West Virginia fans at the Rose Bowl? I understand trash talk and understand, rivalry talk, but that didn't make sense, buddy. I'm sorry. And I'm not trying to bash you or anything. I'm trying to understand it. I really am. But that doesn't make sense. Pitt. And I'm not saying that Pitt doesn't have a large alumni. I'm sure they do. But for whatever reason, they don't support your football team as much as they should. So I have to respectfully disagree with that, buddy. Sorry. Gotta disagree with that one. But point is, okay, let's say the ACC's off the table. What about the SEC? Well, Columbia, South Carolina for the South Carolina Gamecocks. That's like an hour and a half from here. Athens, Georgia, like 2 hours. Lexington, Kentucky, maybe 5 hours, 5.5, something like that. Knoxville, Tennessee, that's another 3.5 hours, something like that. You get into the Alabamas. I mean, Tuscaloosa, that's probably a 6 or 7 hour drive, maybe 8. Auburn, Alabama, same there. So from the state of Alabama on over, Gainesville, Florida, maybe a 8 or 9 trip. Those are doable. Those, what numbers are you talking about, John? Yes, go look at capacity and what is it? Attendance. Yes, attendance. You're right. Attendance don't lie. And Pitt doesn't support their football team, so I don't know what numbers you're referring to, man. And I'm not. Listen, you have to separate this in your head, John. All right, listen to what I'm saying. I am not saying that Pitt doesn't have a large alumni base. That is not what I'm saying. I'm sure they do. What I am saying is they don't show up for football games like they should. For a really good season, Pitt does not sell out their stadium consistently. It just doesn't happen. If West Virginia has a good season, we will either sell out or come close to selling out every single game. So I'm not saying that Pitt doesn't have support or that you don't have a large fan base. I'm saying they don't attend football games like they should. That's what I'm saying. And it's the same for Miami Hurricane fans right now. Maybe it's the professional football stadium aspect. I don't know, but they don't show up and support their team like they should. And maybe part of it is John. Yes, I was. By the way, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. You were there. We showed up to that game. Yes, Pitt fans showed up for the home opener against West Virginia in the backyard brawl. Yes. What is your point? There was also about 30,000 West Virginia fans to help you sell it out. Yes. In fact, they announced over the Videotron, whatever video board, whatever you want to call it. It was the largest attended crowd of any type of venue in the city of Pittsburgh ever. That includes a Pittsburgh Steelers playoff game, any Pitt football game in the past, any type of concert, anything. That game that I went to broke a record for the city of Pittsburgh. Number one, highest. So, yes, I was there, and yes, you did show up. I mean, duh, it's the backyard brawl, of course. At the same time, there was 30,000 of us that helped you sell it out. You know what? I'm not going to say 30,000. I forget how much your stadium holds. Probably about 20,000. So if I had to guess, it was probably 65-35 Pitt to West Virginia, which it was a home game for Pitt. So they're supposed to have the majority. So the fact that West Virginia had 35% of the stadium kind of proves my point, buddy. Now, when the backyard brawl comes back to Morgantown, you will be lucky to see 10,000 Pitt fans there, which, John Waffle, I hope you come to the backyard brawl in Morgantown. I'm going to be there again. It'll be fun. Just like, I'm not going to lie, the backyard brawl was fun. The ending sucked, but it was fun. It was very much fun, but it just sucked as far as the way it started off the season. So, yeah, whenever the backyard brawl comes back to Morgantown this year, it's going to be like 90-10, something like that. There's not going to be, a large majority crowd of Pitt fans in Morgantown like there was in the city of Pitt. The whole left upper deck, I don't know if I was in the south end zone, north end zone, west, east, because I don't know what direction the stadium's facing. I was on the side of the stadium where it was the double decker. So it was filled in, and then you had the double decker. So on my left side, that entire upper deck was West Virginia. Our entire upper deck was West Virginia. And then probably about half of the lower deck on the left side was West Virginia. Now on the right side, that was entirely Pitt. The entire upper deck was Pitt, and the entire lower deck was Pitt. But we owned the left side upper deck for Heinz Field and the end zone upper deck. In fact, funny story, Pitt students apparently thought that the student seating for that game was in the end zone upper deck. So when we went there and got our seats, I saw all these Pitt students. I was like, what? I thought we were in the West Virginia fan majority, because whenever you look at the tickets, you can see, who most of the fans are around you. And we tried to make sure that it was mostly West Virginia fans. And so we get to our seats and we just see a crap ton of Pitt fans off to our bottom right and all the way up to the side. And I'm like, dude, I thought you said this was the West Virginia section. He was like, yeah, it was. I was like, I checked it myself, West Virginia section. So here's what happened though. There was a security guard, a couple of security guards that came up and said, y'all are in the wrong seat. The student section is going to be over here on the right side upper deck going down to the lower deck. So we literally saw a mass exodus of Pitt students because they sat in the end zone when I guess they moved the student section over to the sideline upper deck instead of the end zone upper deck. So we saw a mass exodus. I would probably say at least 5,000 students just filtering down and then taking the short walk over to the other upper deck. Man, I'll say this about Heinz Field. I did not like how much walking you had to go. Now, they do have some escalators there, but man, to get from ground floor up to the second level, that's a lot of walking. So the way West Virginia Stadium is built, the lower deck is in the ground, and then the upper deck is sitting on the ground. So when you go into the stadium, all you have to do is either go down to the lower deck or up to the upper deck. Well, at Heinz Field, everything is above ground. So even if you want to get to the upper part of the lower section, you got to walk up. You want to get to the upper deck, you have to walk and walk and walk and walk. I'm talking probably like 7 or 8 flights of stairs or ramp. 7 or 8 flights of ramp. How about that? But still, that was not fun at all, especially walking down 7 or 8 flights of ramp after your team lost. That made it even worse. Worse. Anyways, point was, UCLA and USC is going to have a rough time, at least in the beginning, when they get into the Big Ten, because travel is going to affect the athletes. I mean, we're not talking about cross time zone travel like we are with West Virginia. We're talking about cross country travel, cross-country travel for USC and UCLA. Now, eventually they'll get used to it. They are a national brand. They have a lot of support. They'll be able to recruit at a high level, and I'm not going to say they're going to suck. It's going to hurt UCLA more than USC because, well, USC recruits better. UCLA is still recruiting at a high level right now. By the way, Chip Kelly is building something over there. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Chip Kelly jump ship and go somewhere else whenever UCLA does finally make the jump. I'm not predicting that to happen. I'm saying it wouldn't surprise me. So I'm not saying they're going to be bad when they get to the Big Ten. I'm saying you're going to be looking at 8-4 or 9-3 seasons, and during a bad season you could be looking at 6-6. Because the travel is going to be brutal, and those athletes, it's gonna wear on their bodies. It is what it is. So just expect that, and especially, man, if Lincoln Riley doesn't start caring about defense, that's what I'm really concerned with as far as USC going to the Big Ten. You have to play defense in the Big Ten if you want to have success. You just have to. There's no way around it. You have to play defense if you want to have any type of success in the Big Ten. Hillbilly Skeptic, thank you for the $5 donation. But he says, Ben said Harbaugh didn't sign his extension because the AD wouldn't approve an NIL scheme. Ooh. Would that give too much power to fund managers and donors? I will have to look into that because, okay, let me explain the NIL thing real quick. The university itself can't fund anything NIL because the NIL is basically for college football. And whenever something is sponsored by the university, it has to be split 50-50 between the male and female athletes, and college football is, male. So that would violate uh, the bylaws of the NCAA. So if if he was wanting in his contract something to where he could, you know, promote the NIL through the university, then absolutely they shouldn't sign that, because they would automatically be violating the bylaws of the NCAA. But I'll have to look into that because I didn't know that actually. Cindy Machado, thank you for the CA. What does CA stand for? Is that 13.99 in a different currency? I'm trying to figure that out. Anyway, sorry. GBD 22 game NFL season and 20 game NCAA with a 2014 playoff and 50 bowl games yearly. Yes or no? Whoa. Okay. As a fan, of course, yes. Fans can't get enough of it. Okay. Fans can't. So yes, I am selfish, and I would say yes. Doubling the amount of games, basically, yes. Problem is, I don't think that they would do that because football is completely different from basketball and baseball as far as the physicality of it and the wear and tear it has on the human body. So as a fan, yes, but as a person concerned for the health and well-being of the athletes, I would actually say no. I think that would be a little bit dangerous. I really do, because they're already subjecting themselves to, violence, legal violence. I mean, if you've ever attended a football game in person, these are not your regular human beings. These are mammoths. These are the super breeds. These are the biggest and the fastest of the biggest and the fastest going at it. Big time collisions. That's why they made the targeting, because it is so violent. They're trying to make it less violent. How many this year I saw more season-ending injuries than any other season. Why? Because the players are getting bigger and the players are getting faster. Even in the NFL, we saw some bad, just terrible, violent collisions that led to terrible injuries, including one that put somebody in the hospital. Um, the defensive back for the Bills, that was serious. So I think 22 would be a little much. If the NFL, and yes, 1 or 2 games is a big deal. So they're at 16 right now. I would say if you do go that route, very, very small chunks at a time. Very, very, very small chunks at a time. So I would go from 16 to either 17 or 18 at first. Do that for 5 to 10 years. Let everybody get used to that. And then maybe jump to 18 or 19. But you can't go from 16 to 22 just like that. As far as the NCAA goes, I would actually be okay with a 14-game regular season. But I think that would actually be the limit as far as me being comfortable with how many games they play. As a fan, I would love for there to be a 20-game season, but I wouldn't feel comfortable with more than 14, because that's just too long of a period to subject these players to that much violence. And I know that's their choice, and they work out for it and they condition for it and all that stuff, but still, that's more chances for injuries and stuff. So that's a little much. I like the thought process. Maybe eventually, like 50 years from now, yes, when they've slowly added and they get there. But you can't go from a 12-team schedule in the NCAA to 20. I mean, you're adding 8 games, boom, right off the bat. That's like almost an entire season. And then for the NFL, you're going from 16 to 24. You're adding another half a season. So not all at once. So if you're going to do that, do it slowly. But as of right now, no, I wouldn't go from 12 to 20 for college football and then 16 to 24. I think that's a little dangerous. I'm not sure if Hamlin will no longer be able to play football again. I haven't seen any I know he's doing better. I know he's conscious and he's responding, and he's thankful for all the support and all that stuff. But as far as them saying that he's not able to play football again, I haven't heard. There hasn't been anything or anybody that come out on that that I've heard, to my knowledge. Maybe there has, and I don't know. But to my knowledge, not so much. Hold on a second here. Let me go through this. Speaking of the big brands that are represented and not represented, I actually have the list here. Excuse me. So in the ACC, the big brands that are not represented, I'm going to blue. Just so you know, we'll go through this real quick. By the way, NC State from the ACC, Louisville, and no, we got Virginia Tech. Yeah, we got Virginia Tech. No, Virginia. Big 12, we have everybody except for Texas Tech. Big 10, we don't have Penn State or let's see, Iowa or Nebraska. We don't have Nebraska represented either. In the SEC, there's a lot of SEC teams not represented yet. Georgia, although I saw Will Klein saying that he sent some Georgia gear to go to Blue, and there's the PO box, by the way. Let's see, Georgia, South Carolina's off the list, or Tennessee's off the list. South Carolina Gamecocks. I know I have a lot of South Carolina subscribers. We don't have any representing you, so send something to PO Box 360 Liberty, South Carolina, to represent South Carolina. By the way, Kentucky's represented. Florida's not. Mississippi State's not. Where are they? No, Ole Miss is not, and Auburn and Texas A&M, and then finally, where's the other one? No, that's all of them. Independent, Notre Dame. Always forget Notre Dame. Looking at you, Will and D. Nothing Notre Dame. All right, Cindy Machado, thank you for the $6.99 donation. Says the NFL at 27 games, by the way, and with expanded rosters in the NFL. Also, Hamlin just entered to the Bills facility. Oh, okay. So is he like, wow? Oh, sent to the Bills facility. So he's still probably in the hospital. I thought you meant like football facility. I was like, wow, that was really, really, really fast. But anyway, so NFL at 27 games, by the way. Whoa, that's it. That's even more games. Yeah, I wouldn't be comfortable jumping from 16 games all the way up to 27 right off the bat. Maybe eventually, way down the road, adding one game per year every 5 years, maybe something like that. But and I also understand the expanded rosters, but you got to realize this is one thing about football players. You might be able to tell them, hey, this is safe and this is not safe. They are very competitive. They're going to want to play as many games as possible. They put themselves at risk. That's why they put in the concussion protocol, because players got concussed. They didn't care. They still want to play. They still want to play. So even with expanded rosters, these players will still put themselves in harm's way and try to play as many games as possible. Am I against expanding the season even to the lengths of 24, 27 for the NFL and 20 for the NCAA? I'm not against it. You just can't do it all at once. You have to do it slowly in phases over time. So maybe, 30, 40 years from now, college football has a 20-game season and all that's figured out. I don't know. But right now, that's a bit of a jump. But good questions, though. I like it. Challenging questions. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, guys. I actually go to church in the morning, so got to get some rest here. But hopefully you guys enjoyed yourself. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button if you're not. All you have to be is a college football fan. That's it. You don't have to like West Virginia. You don't even have to like me to be a subscriber here. A lot of the subscribers here, they don't even like me. But you know what? They're obsessed with college football with me, and that's all that matters. And real quick, before we get out of here, there's a reminder: send gear to represent your team and yourself. Because when you send gear to represent you and your team, if you write a note saying, "Hey, this was sent by this," you will get a shout out on the community page for sending gear. We have a lot of teams represented, and it's because of you guys. Send it to PO Box 360 Liberty, South Carolina 29657, and also think about joining the Patreon page, because we have a lot a lot of contests over there. Right now, I'm trying to figure out who won the bowl prediction contest. First place gets $50. Second place is going to get an autographed gold and blued flat bill hat. And third place will get a shout out on the channel. By the way, Robert Gurney won our championship week contest. So he won $25. He will be getting that $25 sometimes, I think on Tuesday or Wednesday, something like that. Sometime this coming week. But anyways, make sure to check out Patreon. You can join for as low as $2 a month. That's it. $2 a month, and you're a Patreon, and you are eligible for all of these contests. I will say this, since I haven't had my laptop, I haven't been able to do live shows for the Patreon, but it is getting fixed. So as soon as that's done, we will be able to do more live shows for the Patreon. But anyways, hopefully y'all enjoyed this video. As usual, I rambled just about everything, and it is what it is. And hopefully you guys enjoyed yourself. And forget about your stresses and troubles for about an hour. As long as I entertained you and you forgot about real life just for a little bit, then I've done my job. So anyways, enjoy the rest of your extended weekend. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday on Monday. So a lot of people will have that day off as well. So don't forget about that. Your kids are out of school. Don't forget about that. Don't wake up Monday morning and get your kids ready for school, because they won't be going to school. And a last second super chat. I like it. Cindy Machado, thank you for the $2.79 super chat. I like it. Very random. And says, "Go Aztecs, go." So the San Diego State Aztecs get a plug right under the horn. Well done, Cindy Machado. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully 10 o'clock. I was wanting to do one 10 p.m. this evening, but we had to treat our cats. We found out that they had some fleas, so we had to treat them. So that's why I had to push it to 10:30. So we'll try to be here again 10 p.m. And don't forget about the regular videos as well. But for now, that's all, folks. Y'all have a good rest of your Saturday night, and we will see you tomorrow.